You're listening to the Zine Collector, Episode 12, Selling Zines Online, Part 1, Etsy Changes. Hello zine friends, welcome back to the Zine Collector, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm your host Jaime Nyx, and this is the Zine Collector where I talk about zines and zine related topics. Today's topic isn't directly zine-ish, but it is, I feel, zine related, so let's get into it. But first, of course, we have notes and announcements. And the first one is just more of an idea that I'm tossing around, and that is shaking up things here at the podcast. Maybe not shaking them up as such, but basically I am open to your feedback. If there is a segment that you're really not feeling and don't think that the podcast needs, then let me know. If there's something that you would like more of or like included, then yes, definitely let me know. Even down to and this is what got me started thinking about this in the first place, even down to the order of things. I was thinking about how on paper it looks good to have a short segment, your main segment, and then short segments. And I sort of do it that way with zine events, and then the main topic, and then short Q&A, short sharing is caring. But I was also thinking about how maybe it would be nice to have the short stuff and then the main topic and then the show ends, because so you have the main stuff in your mind, that sort of thing. You want to write down anything, so on and so forth. I mean, maybe it's a bit egotistical of me to think that you may want to take notes or anything like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's basically what I'm thinking of, what I'm tossing around, and maybe everything will stay the same. And I definitely can't make any promises as far as suggestions go, but I am open to whatever you're thinking about the show. I want this to be as accessible as possible, as worthwhile as possible. I value your time, and I imagine you value your time too. So yes, let me know if there's any suggestions you have for making this a better podcast, or even different or more, it doesn't have to necessarily be saying that, help me make a better podcast has certain implications, whereas I just wanted to make it the best podcast for you. Rambling on and yeah. If I say basically one more time, I'm gonna have to start taking shots. As in drinks, not, oh goodness. Okay, moving on. The next note I have is a simple one, and it's probably not even going to be a noticeable thing, but next week, early next week, definitely on the 16th, perhaps on the 17th, and maybe on the 18th, I will be offline. Definitely on the 16th, as I think I just said, and yeah, 17th and 18th are a little bit fuzzy. I have a little day surgery. It's not a big deal. Everything's fine, but yeah, I just won't be able to get online. So, I will be scheduling posts and things like that. So as far as like the blog goes and even Happy Mail Monday, it won't even really be noticeable thanks to the power of scheduling things to post at a certain time. So it'll be fine. But if you did need something urgently, needed to talk to me about something urgently, it's better to get those emails in sooner rather than later. Right now, things are already quite piled up. So again, I can't make any promises in that arena, but yeah, it's better to get in contact sooner rather than later. But if you can wait until next week, I would greatly appreciate it. Everything should be fine and completely back to normal on the 17th, but I know from previous experience that I tend to not give myself enough time to recover from basically anything. So I'm trying to be better with the self-care side of things this round by anticipating the possibility that things might be a little rocky early next week. My voice is getting a little rumbly. I apologize. I have redone this podcast Not the entire thing, but like half of it, like a few times, just because I just having a very self-negative day, I guess. And yeah. Anyway, so that's why my voice is a little bit rumbly. I apologize, but I have my water here and I will try to keep it steady for you. And that is it for notes and announcements. Not very exciting whatsoever. So there we go. Let us carry on with zine events. So what's happening in zine events around the world? Now, a few of these may be a repeat from the last podcast, so I apologize for that. We only have a few on the list for this fortnight, and that they are in Minneapolis, Minnesota on the 12th through the 14th in the US. We have the Zine Librarian Unconference. On July 14th in the Philippines, we have the Cebu, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, so it's CEBU, the Cebu Zine Fest, July 14th in the Philippines. Also on the same date in Brooklyn, New York, we have Pete's Mini Zine Fest. On the 14th in London, UK, we have the South London Comics and Zine Fair. On July 21st in York, UK, we have the York Zine Fest. And on July 21st and 22nd in Berlin, Germany, we have the Queer Zine Fest Berlin. Lots of fun things happening around the world, and there is a lot more where that came from. If you would like a direct line on zine events happening around the world and would like to make sure that your zine event is listed, be sure to check out @fanzines on Twitter and Facebook. Links, as always, are in the description. In the last episode of the podcast, I talked about International Zine Month, what it is, a bit about how it started, how to participate this year, so on and so forth. Zine Month, International Zine Month, July is very, as you can imagine, a very exciting month for me. I'm very happy. There's lots to do there. And with a fresh new list from Alex Rec this year, it's been even more exciting than usual. I was really hoping to, last month when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for the podcast in the coming month, I wanted to keep things fun and light and just, have a good time. It's International Zine Month. However, one little thing popped up and timing dictates that I not necessarily do a subject that wasn't on my radar. This subject has been in my ideas list since the beginning. I just wasn't planning on doing it right now. But thanks to Etsy. Does that give you a hint of what I'm going to be talking about? Yes, thanks to Etsy, I will be talking about selling your zines online. Now, as you may have noticed, this is a part 1. It's a huge subject. What can I say more than that? It's a big subject. So today I'm going to have a little bit of a rant followed by a little bit of an introduction for what I have planned in the coming episodes. So what did Etsy do? Tell us, Nyx, what did Etsy do? Last month, online marketplace Etsy announced that they would be raising their transaction fee from 3.5% to 5%. Now, this is the transaction fee just for being on Etsy, not anything else. I'll talk about the other fees later. So you might think, Etsy's a huge business. It's a huge marketplace. A 1.5% rise isn't that big of a deal. Well, it is and it isn't. For big business, this isn't exactly an unheard of move. However, it's not just a 1.5% rise, even though that alone would be enough. It was enough to get people angry. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Up until now, or rather until the 16th, the way things have worked with this particular fee is that 3.5% was charged against the item itself. So if I wanted to sell you my $10 book, the fee, no matter where I sent it, whether I sent it to Queensland or the UK or the US, no matter what, the transaction fee for selling that on Etsy would be 35 cents. Easy peasy. However, with this fee rise, not only will it be 5% instead of 3.5? The fee will be calculated on the entirety of the sale, the item and the shipping cost. So whereas it would cost me 35 cents no matter where I sent it before, now after the 16th, to send my $10 book, it would cost 41 cents to send it to Queensland. Not bad. However, the fee would change to $1.69 if I wanted to send it to the US or the UK. That's nearly 5 times the amount for the fee when you include the shipping. So let's take a bit of a closer look at that. The difference between sending my $10 book overseas on the 16th will go from 35 cents to $1.69. That's a difference of $1.34. Am I really that upset about $1.34? Well, actually I am, and for 3 reasons. First of all, $1.34 might not be much to some people, but to other people, it's a huge amount. $1 can get you a 5-pack of 2-minute noodles, aka 5 meals, aka significant to more people than you might think. Reason number 2, that fee is $1.34 US. It doesn't matter that they have Australia or Etsy Ireland or Etsy Australia. You are paying the fees in US dollars. Now, if your currency is better than the US, then awesome. However, I'm in Australia, and Australian dollar isn't too different, but it's definitely more than $1.34. It is not on par. So there's that. And the third reason is that that's a fee on one sale. That's the thing to think about. $1.34 might not seem that much. If you're hearing that, that's my printer, and I apologize. So yes, that is the fee on one sale. If I sold 10 books overseas, that's $13.40 worth of fees. And that, my friends, is a lot of 2-minute noodles. I was reading an article by Market Watch, and I'll have the link in the description, and in it they talked to Etsy seller Christine Fox, and she reported that last year, just between November and December of 2017, she paid over $1,000 in Etsy fees. Now, I don't have her exact figures, so I don't know how much is overseas and how much was anything, basically. She didn't give exact figures. But the one thing you can guarantee that isn't going to change in this situation is that on the 16th of July, she's going to be paying a lot more than $1,000 in fees. So maybe you can't relate to me in my annoyance over $1.34, but surely you can relate to, or at least understand, Christine's upset over something she already pays $1,000 for monthly on average, increasing. Now, I'm annoyed at this, but I am not angry to the point where I can't see the benefit in it. At least insofar as them extending the fee to shipping as well as the item. Now that's what I wish Etsy would have done. I wish they would have kept it at 3.5%, but extended it over to the shipping. If they had, I would have rather they didn't do anything as far as the fee structure goes, but if they had to do something, if they could have just stretched it over to the shipping as well as the items, then that would have gained them the extra revenue that they were after, and maybe not cause so many problems for the small shops. The thing about the shipping is that while it is annoying in that it will cost us all more, not shipping wise, but it will cost the shopkeepers more to have the transaction fee calculated with the shipping, it does stop what I have over the years always thought of as the eBay shipping thing, which is where they kind of lure you in with a really cheap product, and then you suddenly find out that shipping will cost, your next month's paycheck and your left kidney, that sort of thing. Like, oh gosh, the weird shipping stuff I have seen on eBay. That's, Anyway, so I understand it from that aspect, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It definitely hurts. Last year, Australia Post raised shipping fees. And I personally saw that my overseas sales took a massive dive. I didn't get any overseas sales for quite a while after that shipping change. And this just feels like it's adding to it. Like it's this lack of caring, a lack of thought about anyone outside of your own bubble. Yes, I understand that Etsy's a business, but they're a business that has been built on saying you can have a shop and you can have a shop and you can have a shop and everyone can have a go. And yeah, they don't have to pay attention to what Australia Post is doing, but they should. They should care about what's going on in shopfronts' lives, because in the end, the buyers are not Etsy's customers. The shopfronts are Etsy's customers. The buyers are the shopfronts customers, and yes, Etsy gets a cut, so on and so forth. But they should care, because in the end, the people who sign up to have shops, if nobody signed up to have a shop, then Etsy would have to have its own shop, and that would just bring up its own thing, and that's not what Etsy does. So yes, they should care, and yes, I am upset because I am one of the small shops. I know that some people will think that I'm making a big deal out of a small issue. But if it was one thing, if it was one fee, then I would go, okay. And even with being able to see the value in extending the fee to the shipping, it doesn't mean that it's any more affordable. It doesn't suddenly make it all okay. It doesn't suddenly mean that, ooh, baby, I might go for the name brand 2-minute noodles. It doesn't mean anything other than it's harder. So let's take a look at why this feels like not just one fee, but feels like yet one more thing stacked upon everything else. And how do we do that? Well, I have a handy dandy little list here of Etsy's other fees. So let's take a look, or rather take a listen. So along with the, as of July 16th, 5% transaction fee for being on Etsy, you also have listing fees, 20 cents per product that needs to be renewed every 4 months or when you sell out of a product. Processing fees that vary by country. Processing fees that vary by payment type. Additional taxes based on your country, VAT, GST, so on and so forth. A currency conversion fee if you sell in a currency that is different to your bank account's currency. Additional fees if you sell on Etsy wholesale rather than regular marketplace. Advertising and promotional fees for various services, should you so desire to use them. And the newly monthly subscription fees if you'd like to join in with one of their plans that they're introducing. Like I said, saying Etsy is still one of the most affordable marketplaces doesn't change the fee structure or the long list of fees. It doesn't make it magically easier to bear by any means. According to CNBC, Etsy earned $136 million in their last quarter. In the last quarter of last year alone. That was one quarter, 2017, $136 million. And over $1 billion in gross merchandising sales. I don't have their figures, obviously. I don't know the ins and outs of their businesses. I don't know what their books look like. So I don't know how much they needed or didn't need this move. Needed or didn't need this price rise. But from where I'm sitting, and I admit that I am sitting in a very biased position compared to Etsy, I can't help but think this definitely wasn't a necessary move. Now, according to the Market Watch article I talked about before with Christine Fox, Etsy has about 2 million users, 2 million stores. Now, even if every single store only had one listing, just one, that means they're still making $400,000 every 4 months on listing fees alone. Now, that's $400,000 USD every 4 months just for listings. That doesn't include any other transaction fees. And that's why I'm a little fired up. I'm a little bit sus about this fee rise when you are guaranteed at something like that. And I can almost promise you that it's more than that, because there are shops out there with literally thousands of listings. I have something like 42, I think, which isn't much. There are a lot of shops I love that have around 100 to 300, that sort of thing. So yeah, they're definitely making more than that, guaranteed every 4 months. To be realistic, I can't condemn a business for being a business. I can get angry and annoyed and things like that, but in the end, they want to make money. They're saying that the money from this transaction rise will go back towards getting more customers in and that sort of thing. I just feel like a business that makes so much shouldn't have to punish their customers to get more traffic for their customers. It just doesn't make sense to me. That being said, I can't sit here and say to you, stick it to Etsy, close your stores, tell them we're not going to take it anymore, because there are actually still advantages to having a shop on Etsy. And even beyond that, like, the market spoke. Etsy announced that they would have the fee rise, and their stock rose enormously. Like, they didn't quite break records, but they got close to some records. And even though I'm disgusted by the fee rise, like I said, I can see why extending it to the shipping could be a good thing overall. And you may have noticed that, yeah, I still have an Etsy shop link in the description. I still have my shop up. I haven't closed it over this, though I make no promises, and probably might in the future. So yes, there are still advantages to being on Etsy. There are still reasons to have a shop front if you're willing to put up the fees. So how do you know if Etsy is worth it to you? How do you know if Etsy is better than the other choices that are out there now for having an online shop front? How do you know? Where else can you go? What else can you do? When people have asked me about self-publishing books over the years, what to pay for and what to do for yourself, that sort of thing, I've told them that it's always time versus money. The same thing applies to when you're selling your zines online. Instead of weighing up whether you want to spend the time learning how to make your own book cover or spend the money hiring someone else to do it, instead of weighing those options with selling zines, do you want to spend the time building your own market, or do you want to spend the money on fees on a site like Etsy that already has a market, already has a population, already has traffic? I feel so, oh goodness, I feel so not punk talking about this. I know that zines have a very punk history and things like that, and I know this is very not punk, but here we are. In the coming episodes of this podcast, I will be talking about your various options for selling online, various storefronts, various self-hosted, what I'm calling semi-self-hosted. And as you can imagine, it's a pretty huge topic, which is why I have broken it down into parts. I don't know how many parts it's going to be at this point. It might just be part 1 and part 2, but I'm thinking it'll probably be at least 3. Anyway, so whether you are wanting to whether you're just starting and want to open your own shop, or whether you have a shop and want to know about other options, see if there's something that's a better fit for you out there, I want to present you with the information I can and help you to make the right decision for you or your shops. When it comes to selling zines, whether it's online or offline, there are a lot of different components. There is the distro option. Maybe you want to sell through distros, and distros also are online and offline. There are various taxes involved and all that sort of thing. There are a lot of components that can go into dealing with a business, like getting a business name, getting a domain name, getting I'm not sure what it's called in the US, but in Australia you have your Australian business number, your ABN, and all that sort of stuff. This series isn't going to cover those things. I'm basically just looking at the various options. I'm not getting into that more technical having a business side of things. So if you would like me to, I don't imagine you do, but if you would like me to, definitely let me know and I can. But yes, in the episodes to come, I'll just be looking at the various options. And the same goes if you'd like me to look at something specific. I have what I feel is a comprehensive list of different options when it comes to selling online. But if there's something specific that you want to make sure is on the list, that I take a look at, that I go through, so on and so forth, definitely don't be shy. You can let me know that, hey, I've found X and I'd like to know how it compares to everything else, so please put it on the list. Definitely feel free to do that. And I'm afraid that's where I am going to end it today, Zine friends. I'm going to keep it a bit short and sweet, though. It's not necessarily a short episode, but yeah, I am going to postpone the Q&A, and the sharing is caring for now. There's heaps going on, and basically I need more questions for the Q&A. So if you have any questions or even any recommendations for the sharing is caring segment, definitely feel free to get in touch. And let me know about the Etsy situation. Does it affect you? Do you not care? Are you looking for somewhere to put your shop and not sure if Etsy is right for you? Are you against the whole online shop in the first place for zines? Let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to have just a bit of discourse, a bit of discussion on how things are rolling out for you in your life. So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Zine Collector. I hope it's interesting. Like I said, I feel very anything but punk discussing all these sorts of things, but yeah, I think it's important, especially, and not just because of the Etsy thing, though the Etsy thing definitely, like I said, pushed it forward in terms of the timeline. But yeah, it's it's all very serious, and I will plan on some more fun sort of topics for future episodes after this multi-part series. Remember that everything I say is just my opinion, and maths isn't my strong suit, so you can always follow up on my maths, though I did check 3 times. There are no gatekeepers in the universe, nor should there ever be. Links to what I've talked about are in the description. And yeah, I'll have links to the Market Watch article, the CNBC article, and various other things that I have mentioned, of course. So be sure to stop by seagreenzines.com, where I review zines every Thursday and Friday. The music for this podcast is Spanish Summer by Audionautics and is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution license. That's me, my friends. That's me, Jaime Nyx, for another fortnight. Crossing fingers. Should be totally, fully, absolutely recovered by the 25th in time for the next podcast. So yes, until next time, have a wonderful fortnight. Take it easy. Be kind to yourself. Yeah, you boop. Enjoy International Zine Month. Make some zines. And until next time, mwah. I have not recorded and re-recorded an episode so much since the very first episode. Oh my gosh. I'd swear it was Monday.